Sometimes it is one small thing that defines who we are. My name's David Woodall with the United Church of Canada and the Emsdale Pastoral Charge. Sometimes it is one small thing that defines who we are. It could be some small action, some small decision that we made between possibility A and possibility B. It could be some experience, great or small. Certainly the trauma of war is well documented on children, as is the aftermath of the residential school experience on survivors. Those are great experiences. Sometimes it's a random experience, some encouragement received or some small kindness experienced. It also sometimes takes a lifetime to discover who we were meant to be. Who we were meant to be. Now that's an interesting idea, that there is some solid presence inside of us that is actually the best version of who we are. Sometimes it takes a lifetime to discover this presence. I would call it my soul, that spiritual part of me that is bigger than who I am, bigger than who you are. Sometimes it takes a lifetime to discover this presence. Sometimes it takes just a day. Sometimes it takes just a moment. In some ways, the life search we are all on is to answer the question, who am I? From the oldest to the youngest, we ask the question, why am I here? We eat, sleep, play, and that question rumbles in the background. Why am I here? Who am I? Do I have a purpose in life? And then it seems that for everyone, at some point in time, that question gets answered. We may not catch it at that time. It's just a whisper of a thought, a momentary experience, a voice from far away that touches us. We feel the stirrings of who we are, of who we might possibly be, of who we could possibly become. I call it the voice of God. You call it whatever you want. This voice, speaking through the stillness of our souls, compelling us to move beyond ourselves into a vast and wonderful and amazing world. Go to all people everywhere and help them to live and to find hope and serve each other and love each other and become everything God created them to be, and I will be with you to the close of the age. Go beyond yourself to a vast and wonderful and amazing world full of people of all sorts. What an invitation to the whole world. People who have faith, people who have no faith, people of different faiths. We share and we celebrate the gift of the spiritual life. Our true selves bonded together, gifted by God, however you want to spell God's name, gifted by God to all of humanity. Today is a day to celebrate who we already are. Not who we might be in some future time, but who we already are. Now, we've been around long enough to know that there's all sorts of forces and temptations that would do their very best to tear life apart. How many of us have wondered about families breaking down, about mushrooming food kitchens, about environmental decay, about simple integrity and honesty, about multi-million-dollar facilities located within blocks of devastating poverty, or enemy rockets attacking nursery schools. Now, we personally know times when we've been less than our best true selves. There are all sorts of forces and temptations that do their very best to tear life apart. Now, for too long, they seem to have held the day. But that whisper of a thought, that voice from far away, calls to us. And we realize that God is inviting us not to tear life apart. God is inviting us to bring life together. God, who is the creator of all good things, is inviting us to treasure and value all of life, all of creation, and all of us. Help people with their lives and their destinies. There is darkness in this world, but have you ever seen darkness put a light out? Never. Darkness only wins when the light goes out. But as long as that light shines, well, evil doesn't stand a chance. And you and I are called the light of the world. So be the light. We are the dream of God. We are the salt that gives to food its flavor, and we're the city set on a hill, and all the lost wanderers can find their way to its safety. This is who we were made to be at the very beginning of our lives, to bring some good, some truth, some hope, some beauty into this world. Sometimes it is one small thing that allows us to discover who we are. Some small action or some decision that we make, perhaps a random experience, some encouragement received or small kindness experience. Sometimes it takes a moment, sometimes a day, sometimes a lifetime to discover who we were meant to be. But the truth is that one small decision can change a whole life. His team had reached the citywide finals. It was a championship game, bottom of the ninth. 2 out. The other team ahead, 3-0. The first batter went up. A base hit and a man on first. Not much interest among the spectators. Their supporters were already packing up to go home. The second batter went up. He had the good wisdom just to stand there as the first, second, third, and fourth foul balls were thrown. Now there were 2 runners on base. Spectators in the stand are starting to show a little bit more interest. The third batter went up, strike 1, strike 2. The third ball somehow hit the bat while it was still on the batter's shoulders and landed in such a way that the third batter made it to first base. Bottom of the ninth, 2 out, behind 3-0, bases loaded, and it was Bobby's turn to bat. Now, when Ken's team saw who it was to bat, their concern was expressed in words that probably can't really be shared here. Ken Callahan, the coach of the boys' team, shared this story many years later. You see, Bobby's parents had come to him prior to the baseball season to ask if their son would practice with the team. They felt it would be good for him to learn to throw the ball and use a baseball bat. They knew he wasn't very good. When it came to games, they wouldn't expect him to play. Perhaps he could be the water boy or the bat boy. Now, Ken said he had a problem with that because his philosophy was that you practiced with the team, you played with the team. So here it was, the final game, the final batter. He had abundant advice from Bobby's teammates suggesting that Bobby was not the person to be at bat at this moment in time. Well, Ken told the boys, we arrived at this point as a team. We will finish this season as a team. Bobby took his place at bat. He hit the first ball that came over the plate. It landed fairly just behind the first baseman and rolled off into the weeds at the edge of the field. Now, in this kind of situation, the pitcher comes over and covers first base so that when the first baseman finds the ball, he can throw it and the pitcher will tag the runner out at first base. This time, though, the pitcher thought that he should remain on the pitcher's mound so that he could receive the accolades of the crowd for having won the game. So there was no one for the first baseman to throw the ball to. Bobby ran and tagged first base. Now, Bobby's strength was that he could run. He had learned to run to school in time for the bell rather than face the teasing of his classmates. He had learned it was easier to run away from a problem situation than it was to face it. He had learned to quickly disappear around corners rather than face yet another taunt or tease or trouble. Bobby's strength was that he could run. As he rounded first and headed for second, the first baseman threw the ball to home plate. Sometimes in adrenaline-pumping situations, you develop more strength than normal. As the ball sailed over the head of the catcher, the first baseman realized that this was the case. Meanwhile, Bobby has passed second and is running towards third base. The first, second, and third runners have already scored. It's now a tie game. The catcher picks the ball up and, mindful of the first baseman's mistake, throws the ball towards third to put Bobby out. You know, sometimes when things start to fall apart, they seem to fall apart everywhere all at once. The ball hit the ground in front of the third baseman and rolled through his legs, and Bobby was on his way towards home plate. The outfielder picked the ball up and threw it home. The race was down to the wire, and Bobby lunged towards home plate in a desperate dive, in the hope that his fingers would reach it before the catcher tagged him out. The most decisive thing that happened on that field that day was not the winning run that Bobby scored, nor was it the team pile-up with Bobby on the bottom, nor was it when the team carried Bobby around the field on their shoulders, though he deserved it. The most decisive thing that happened on the field that day was the lunge Bobby made towards home plate. One small decision, experience, encounter, encouragement can change a whole life. Bobby changed that day. Later in life, he became one of the leaders of that community. And it all traced back to that day on the baseball field when a lunge towards home plate shaped a young boy's destiny. God is inviting us to help people with their lives and their destinies. We build on our strengths. We know that we're part of the dream of God. We were created to be a light on the hill, not just some of us, but all of us. And when we let our own light shine, we give other people permission to do the same. We're the children of God. To cower in silence because we're not perfect or we're not experienced, or to clutch closely and self-centeredly because we fear that one day it'll all be gone, graspingly clinging to things, this is not fitting for you and I. We are the ones opening our hearts to feed people who have no food. We are the ones you'll find in every nook and cranny of this country, helping others in great and small ways, laughing and crying, dancing and weeping with others as life unfolds in its profound and wonderful and terrible ways. Never forget who you are. I am a candle flickering in the night. I am the salt that gives to food its flavor. I am a city set on a hill, and all the lost wanderers whom I meet in my life will be able to find their way because they met me. We are already the children of God, and we already act like it. So have a great day. God bless us all. Amen.